Hello everyone, and welcome to the next part in our Library 101 series, Finding Items. We will be going over our shelf logic system today, and I'll show you how to search for an item in our internet catalog and then find it. So first of all, I want to start out by letting you know about our shelving system. We do not use the Dewey Decimal System. Instead, we use shelf logic, which is a bit more intuitive and is perfect for browsing. It much more resembles what you are used to if you go into a bookstore, because instead of numbers, you're going to be using just an easier system with just subjects and genres, which you're already familiar with. These subjects and genres are in alphabetical order, so if you haven't sung the alphabet song in a while, it might be good to brush up on it. So to start out, let's pretend you go into one of our libraries. I wanted to keep it really simple, so I haven't included all the sections you would find in a library, but you can see I have listed 4 here. We have adult fiction, adult nonfiction, juvenile fiction, and juvenile nonfiction. Each of these areas have their own set of genres and topics. So let's say we walk in and decide to visit adult nonfiction first. An important note here is that our nonfiction sections are going to be in order of their title, not their author. Alright, so here's a little bit of our nonfiction section. For adult nonfiction, I just grabbed 3 sections for you to see, and you'll notice, of course, that they are in alphabetical order here on the screen. We have arts, we have business, and cooking. Under each of these, you'll see I grabbed a few of their subsections as an example. So here we have arts, art fashion, and then arts, fashion, beauty. These are important because let's say you're looking for a book on how to make cakes. You would definitely want to head over to the cooking section, but when you get there, you would want to go out of the main cooking genre where you would find just general meals or like books by famous chefs. You'd want to go to the later section of cooking dessert. So right here, instead of this one right here. There you would find books on cookies, pies, cakes, candy, ice cream, and everything that's like sweets related. Here's a shelf example of what the nonfiction art section might look like if you go to that shelf. You've got the main overarching section of art right here, and that's represented by this book. But you've got subsections as well, and you'll see that those go in alphabetical order on the shelf. So our next subsection is fashion, and you can see here that it's right after arts. And then we've got arts history, and that's right after fashion. But there may be, depending on the subsections, there could be some between here, some between here. It just depends. You'll notice that the titles are in alphabetical order within their section. And keep in mind that this subsection could have arts, fashion, beauty, so that would go right after, right here as well. So you can see these 2 titles, we have them in order because it's alphabetically. This one starts with a B, and this one starts with an H, so this is in the correct order. We don't include a or the, so that if this said a beautiful outfit, we would just go by beautiful. Here's an example of what the business section might look like. I just want to point out that many of our spine labels were limited to 7 characters, so when you're out there in the shelves, you might say, oh, that doesn't look like a normal way to spell business. A lot of them are going to be limited to 7 characters. Again, you can see that the main business section starts us out, and that it is followed alphabetically by its subsections. When it comes to looking at a shelf as a whole, I know that some people might get overwhelmed, but it's really not so bad if you think of it like reading a book. Each shelf is read from left to right, just like a page in a book. So you would start up here and alphabetically go down the line on each shelf. And then when you get to the bottom of it, you just go right up to the next page. So now on the next page, you can kind of see what that looks like. So here's how it would work. This thing that we were looking at has 2 parts, just like 2 pages. So here's page 1, page 2. We start at the top and we go through, and then see this divider, we don't cross over, we go right down to the next line. And so arts continues arts, and then we go all the way through alphabetically, we go right back over here, and business started. And then when we get to the bottom of the business section, we can go all the way up, and actually it's continuing on this next shelf, but we can think of it like we're reading a book, so it's the next page. Alphabetically we go down through cooking, and then we start craft, and then it would just continue on. If there's a break in the shelf, you just kind of turn around and find the next bookshelf. It might be behind you, it might be in a little bit different of an area, and you'll just have to look for it and read the end caps on the shelves. So now let's take a trip to the juvenile fiction section. A note here is I want to let you know that these books are within their section in order of their author's last name or their series title if it's a series. Here's an example of what you might see if you're looking in the juvenile section. Keep in mind that the genres themselves might not always be in strict alphabetical order. It just depends on the size of the bookshelf and the position of the shelves in the library and how big each section is. So here you can see we start out with juvenile fiction and we go right to juvenile historical, but then back to fantasy. Whereas you might think, oh, fantasy would be before historical. It just depends on how it's situated, and you'll just want to get comfortable with reading those labels on the shelves. Here's an example of an end cap sign. Here we have juvenile fiction. You can see on this side it says A through L, so that would be authors' last names that start with A through L. And then to the right we have M through Z, so then M through Z would be on this side, and then A through L would be on this side. We would want to walk around and start at the upper left to find A. Here's an example if we watch to the left. So we would start with A, juvenile fiction. We have A and then goes down until we see L. There would obviously be a lot more books in here, but they would all be in alphabetical order by the author's last name. Within an author, the title would be used to assign it alphabetically. Here is an example of if you were using our catalog online, how to find a book and then go to the shelf and find a book. So we're just going to kind of walk through that process. You can hit play here. So I'm going to search for the book called Sabriel. And all I have to do is just type it into that search bar on our website. We're mcldaz.org. Hit search and we can scroll down, and there I see it. We have the book version of it right here, and I can see Sabriel. I'm going to say, oh, I see that it's in fantasy in the teen section. I click on where it is, and I can see that it is at Southeast Regional Library. It's going to be in the teen section, fantasy, and his last name is Nix. So if I wanted to go find that book, I can already have a mental note that this is what the book is going to look like. So we know it's in the teen section, it's going to be in fantasy, and then it's going to be under Nix as the last name, and we know that Sabriel will most of the time be on the spine printed from the publisher. So here we are, we find the teen area, and we can see fiction stacks right here. We've got general fiction, this is A through L. So then I keep looking around, still we have teen fiction, that's M through Z for author's last name. Oh, here we go. So then we say, okay, this is what I want, teen fantasy. Keep in mind that not all the end caps will have the author's last name, like the letters on the end caps, but sometimes they will. But you'll just want to get comfortable with going into your section that you find and then looking at the spine labels so that you can see alphabetically where you are. So I can see, oh, right. So then we have teen fantasy P through Z because we know that ours starts with fantasy N. So we are going to choose this stack and then go to the left and walk down this area, and then we will see what we can find. All right, so I have gone and taken a picture of the actual teen fantasy area. And as you can see across the bottom, we have all these spine labels, teen fantasy night, and then, oh, here we are. We have Garth Nix. And then immediately you can see he has a lot of titles, right? So you want to look alphabetically for the items. So we have A, F, L, and oh, there we go, Sabriel. And then we have found our title. I just wanted to give you a real example of what an end cap might look like on one of our shelves. This end cap is our nonfiction section, and you can see that over here we have H for history, and going down with nonfiction topics all the way down to humor. You can see that like we have home and then some subsections. Home has decor, DIY, and then DIY has some subsections of carpentry, electrical, plumbing, things like that. You'll notice that this seems like we're going backwards because we have L on this side and then we go to H over here. But I'm actually standing, so this is the original picture, I'm standing on the end of that bookshelf. So the real alphabetical order is actually happening on the other side. So if I were to stand on the other end of this bookshelf, then you would see it go H to L. But so just keep that in mind when you're looking through. Really quickly, I do want to actually show you a list of all the nonfiction topics that we have, because I think it's a really good idea for you to have an idea of what we have available as you start browsing. So we've got antique, arts, bio, business, computer, cooking, craft, drama, disasters, educate, family, farm, folklore, game. And again, keep in mind, a lot of these are going to have be limited to 7 characters, so that's why they're spelled in unique ways. We've got health, history, holiday, home, humor, language, language arts, law, literature, literary crit, math, music, nature, pets, philosophy, poetry, and political science. Religion, science, self-help, social science, special, spirit, sport, study, technology, transportation, travel, tribes, and crime, or true crime. This is our fiction topics. I did want to let you know some of them are limited to certain age groups. So, for example, if we look at spooky, that's only going to be in juvenile, whereas horror is not going to be in juvenile. Horror is going to be in adult and teens. So just keep that in mind as you're browsing. We've got comics, faith, fantasy, fiction, graphic novels, historical, horror, LGBTQ, mystery, romance, sci-fi, series, spooky, supernatural, urban, and western. For children's picture books, there are quite a few, and here you'll see that the sections can have subsections as well. So like outside, we'll have critters, barnyard, dinos, pets, but that will all be under the general outside section, and outside has its own section as well. So we've got friends, long ago, which would be like the historical area in the picture books. Me, outside, critters, barnyards, dinos, pets, celebrations. It's going to be holidays, birthdays and stuff, but we've got celebrations for each season. So we've got spring, summer, autumn, winter, and we also have room, which is cars and stuff, vehicles for kids. Pretend castles, pretend play, pretend fairy. Concept books. This is especially good for learning. We've got alphabets, numbers, shapes, colors, and find it. So that would be like I Spy. Stories, we have general stories and also bedtime stories and rhymes. And that about wraps it up for today's program. As always, if you have any questions about this topic, please feel free to ask us. We love to help. You can visit us at the desk or call us at 602-652-3000 or go online to our catalog at mcldaz.org. Thanks so much and have a great day. Bye.